Discovered. The incredible story of a cleaning lady who transformed a CEO's life in 30 days. Every morning, while the world rushed on, Maria slipped into the high-rise office building in downtown Chicago like a whispered secret. A cleaning lady to the powerful. She was the invisible thread that ran through the lives of executives wrapped in their egos and ambition. At 35, Maria balanced her job with caring for 2 young children, rising before dawn to scrub the shadows out of people's lives, all while her husband served overseas. She held tighter to the hope of brighter days, promising her kids a future built on hard work and resilience. Jack, the building's CEO, once brimmed with ambition, but now he felt like a ghost in the shimmering glass tower. Board meetings replaced family dinners, and profit margins overshadowed bedtime stories. With every email, the weight of expectations crushed him more. The love that once ignited his drive flickered like a dying flame. Yet, in the echoing halls of corporate America, he met Maria. First, she was just another face in the crowd, a woman with a mop and a determined spirit. But even as she scrubbed away the remnants of yesterday, she radiated kindness that broke through his corporate shell. Brief encounters soon morphed into shared moments. Maria's laughter rang out like a bell in the sterile offices, bringing life to shadows. They discussed life, family, and what true happiness meant, shedding light on the love missing from Jack's meticulously planned life. Each conversation mirrored the struggles of high-powered lives tangled with the simple joys of motherhood. Maria spoke of her children, her husband, and the hopes that colored her dreams, a stark contrast to the numbers and presentations that consumed Jack. The tension thickened as Jack's corporate world spiraled into chaos. One crucial presentation loomed ahead, and family ties tugged at him, pulling him in different directions. Corporate crises ignited the pressure, leaving little room for anyone's emotional needs. Maria, through the precision of her cleaning, taught him more than he expected. Success isn't just dollars and cents, she said firmly, as she wiped the dusty corners. It's the laughter at the dinner table, the hugs before bed. Jack's heart tightened. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One morning, Maria caught him at his breaking point, stress etching lines into his forehead deeper than any harsh scrub could erase. She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. It's okay to feel lost, Jack. Just remember the love that made you who you are. Her genuine care hit him like a tidal wave, washing away his corporate armor. As the day of reckoning approached, Jack felt the pull between who he was and who he was becoming. Could he step away from focusing solely on corporate success? Would he listen to the heart-stirring lessons from a cleaning lady who saw beyond the shiny surface? The world was watching, and Jack stood at the edge, ready to leap into a transformation that could unite his fractured life. Would he embrace the raw, vibrant connection to family, or would he spiral deeper into the corporate grind he feared? He held his breath, torn between 2 worlds, wondering what lay ahead. Would he choose love over profit, depth over superficiality? The answer hung heavy in the air, a question without resolution that trembled just out of reach. The day of the presentation arrived with the city wrapped in a soft, early morning mist. Jack's heart raced in his chest as he stared out of his office window, the view that once filled him with pride now clouded by uncertainty. The gray buildings of Chicago seemed to mirror his tumultuous thoughts. Would he go through with the plan to prioritize family, or would he buckle under the pressure? As he turned away from the window, he saw Maria, her silhouette moving swiftly and gracefully across the office floor. She was gathering the last remnants of the night's dust with steadfast determination. For a fleeting moment, he found comfort in her presence. She captivated him with her calm focus, as if she wielded a magic that could soothe the chaos swirling inside him. Maria looked up, her eyes warm and knowing. "Jack, you okay?" she asked, pausing her work. The care she infused into her simple questions sent a jolt through him, reminding him of the conversations they shared, the laughter, the vulnerabilities. He forced a smile but felt it falter. "I'm not sure," he admitted, his voice a whisper. "Today is supposed to be a big day, a make-or-break moment. But I think I've lost sight of what really matters." She stepped closer, her mop resting on the floor. "You're not just a CEO, Jack. You're a husband and a father. Don't forget that." Her words wrapped around him like a warm blanket, igniting a flicker of hope. He felt seen, understood in a way his board members would never comprehend. Jack hesitated, contemplating how to open up more. "You make it sound so simple," he replied, running a hand through his hair. "But the pressure, everyone is counting on me." "Pressure isn't always a bad thing," she said, her tone decisive. "Sometimes it helps us find clarity. What do you deep down want? What do you wish you could do instead of just burying yourself in paperwork?" Her question struck him like lightning. Deep inside, he yearned to compose bedtime stories for his children, to see the world through their joyful eyes again, instead of chasing endless numbers. The thought filled him with warmth and longing, a stark contrast to the sterile confines of his office world. "I want to reconnect with my family," he confessed, sincerity etched across his face. "But I don't know if I can." Maria smiled gently. "You can start with one small step. You don't have to fix everything in one day." The board meeting loomed, a storm cloud on the horizon, but suddenly it felt different. Jack inhaled deeply, and as he did, clarity washed over him. He could choose to convey a vision not just of profit margins, but something greater, a culture that valued work-life balance, connection, and, above all, love. "I've got to try," he murmured, his voice steadier now. "Then go in there and own it," she encouraged, her enthusiasm infectious. With his pulse racing, Jack hurried to prepare his thoughts. He envisioned a speech not filled with cold statistics, but filled with heart. He imagined a discussion about family values, stories that pulled at the heartstrings of those around him, about community, about hope. As he walked toward the boardroom, fueled by determination, his heart echoed Maria's words. This was more than just a presentation. It was a chance to redefine his life. But as he reached for the door, Jack hesitated, feeling the weight of uncertainty creep back in. What if they rejected his new vision? What if they only wanted numbers? He took another deep breath, his heart racing. Could a cleaning lady really change a CEO's life? As he opened the door, doubt flickered in his mind. And then he stepped through, ready to confront his truth. What lay ahead could either propel him into a new world or plunge him back into isolation. Would he be brave enough to share his revelation? Or would he be swept away by the tide of corporate expectations that threatened to pull him under? Stepping through the door, Jack's senses heightened in an instant. The buzz of voices, the flicker of fluorescent lights, it all blended into an overwhelming cocktail of anxiety and anticipation. As he stood at the threshold, every gaze in the room shifted toward him, a silent symphony of judgment laced with curiosity. Would they sense his fear? Would they appreciate his newfound clarity? Or dismiss him outright? "Jack, come on in," boomed Rick, the CFO, his booming voice cutting through the tension. As Jack entered, he felt the heavy weight of expectation pressing down like a lead blanket. These were men and women who had spent years climbing the corporate ladder. Here he was, ready to swing the axe that could cut deep into the core of their business ethos. Jack approached the long, polished table, his mind racing. Images of his children flashed before him, small hands waving goodbye as he left for work, the echo of laughter in their living room, their eyes lighting up as he read them stories. Those moments grew sharper, pushing aside the cold statistics he was used to presenting. "All right, Jack, what's on your mind?" Rick shrugged. The others leaned in, their expressions a mixture of skepticism and anticipation. Clearing his throat, Jack felt himself stand taller. "I want to talk about the direction of our company," he began, each word a small revolution against the silence. "About work-life balance, about the culture we cultivate here." The reaction was almost instantaneous. A low murmuring rippled through the crowd. Jack glanced around and saw eyebrows raised, questioning glances exchanged. They expected numbers. They wanted projections. But he was going to give them something else entirely. I realized that we've been prioritizing profits at the expense of our families. We're all working for something, right? But what if we also worked towards a life that matters? A place where employees aren't just cogs in a machine but are part of something that supports their well-being. He paused, sensing the shifting tide as the murmurs quieted. It's not just about the bottom line, it's about the lives behind the numbers. We can create a culture here, inspired by our families. Imagine our employees feeling valued, supported in their roles as parents, as partners, as humans. A flicker of comprehension chased doubt from Jack's mind. He was staring at their faces, letting the truth resonate. Maybe we can even provide a program that connects our families on a deeper level, team-building events where children can join, or storytelling sessions to inspire creativity. The silence in the room felt infectious. Jack pushed forward, passion igniting his voice. It's time for us to transform the corporate culture. If we honor our commitments to our families, we can inspire loyalty and creativity in our teams. This is more than just making money. It's about making a difference. There was a still moment at the end of his speech. Jack took a deep breath, heart pounding in anticipation. Had he gone too far? Would they scorn him for such ideals? Rick's nod broke the silence. You might be onto something, Jack. But what does that look like in practice? He could feel hope swelling in the air, a butterfly beginning to unfurl its wings, but the question struck at the core of his intentions. Could such a vision of connection and balance actually fit in the rigid framework of corporate expectations? As discussions ignited around him, Jack felt both exhilarated and terrified. The path ahead seemed bright yet uncertain, filled with vast potential. He'd stepped out of the shadows. Now it was time to not just be a part of the discussion but to lead it. But just as excitement bubbled within, another thought crept into his mind uninvited. What if those around him didn't share his vision? What if the old guard clung stubbornly to tradition, unwilling to change? With the potential for transformation lingering in the air, Jack took a moment to collect himself. The true test was yet to come. Would he find allies among his colleagues? Or would he be standing alone, fighting for a dream others saw as foolish? As people began to express their thoughts, nibbles of support edging their way through the room, Jack realized the battle was just beginning. Would love truly guide their corporate choices, or would fear keep them shackled to the past? The coming days would reveal everything. What challenges would Jack face as he fought for this new vision? Would the spark of change ignite, or would he find himself in deeper peril than before? Jack stood at the crossroads of passion and uncertainty. The energy in the room buzzed, but his heart raced for a different reason. He was doing more than just speaking. He was reaching into the core of something bigger. I think it's a great start, someone from the back piped up. It was Maria, head of HR, known for her directness. But we're talking about a cultural overhaul. How do we convince everyone that this is worth the cost? Exactly, chimed James, the head of marketing. Think about the risk here. If we shift resources to support families, what happens to our bottom line? Our investors won't be happy without immediate results. Jack felt the walls of pressure closing in. The very same doubts that had danced in his mind now echoed around the table. What if, he began, his voice tremulous but firm, we approach this as an investment in our greatest asset, our people. He watched as Rick leaned back, arms crossed. The look on his face told Jack that he was a tough sell. Yet Jack pressed forward. Imagine a workplace where employees choose to stay, not just because of pay but because they feel valued. But Jack, Rick interjected, you're asking us to rethink years of practices. It's a huge shift. He nodded. I know. But think about the long-term benefits. A workforce that is happier and healthier leads to lower turnover, higher engagement, and ultimately better performance. This isn't just about saying the right words. It's about shifting our entire perspective. Glimmers of agreement began gliding through the gathering, but he knew they still stood at the edge of a precipice. He pushed on, fueled by the faces of his children. If we can create a culture where employees share their genuine selves, we'll find creativity flowing. Stories will be shared, visions will expand. Our company will stand out like a beacon looming over this rigid industry. Okay, Rick conceded, finally leaning forward, intrigued. It sounds great in theory, but we need something concrete. Plan. Jack's heart leaped. He had imagined this moment a chance to map out an actionable strategy that could shake the very foundation of their company. We could start with a pilot program, a month dedicated to family-oriented activities, he suggested. Workshops on mental health, time for family events during office hours, perhaps a day each month dedicated to family engagement with a fair amount of flex hours. Rick's brows furrowed, considering the implications. That's ambitious, but we'll need metrics. How can we prove it's working? The voices around the table mixed in a rhythmic chatter of ideas and hesitations. Jack grabbed every bit of momentum he could. Let's track employee satisfaction through surveys, measure productivity changes, and even gather feedback from family members. We could even showcase success stories at quarterly meetings. Jack could feel a shift. They were starting to see it, feel it, resonate with his vision. He caught glances of hope mixed with curiosity, and it made his heart swell. Yet, underneath that swell was a persistent fear. What if this excitement faded in the light of inevitable pushback? Jack's thoughts raced as he returned to the fact that not everyone would embrace this change. How could he sustain these new ideals against the weight of a corporate structure so deeply entrenched in tradition? As discussions continued to swirl, Jack glanced around, searching for allies. Who among them could he trust to stand beside him when challenges arose? Just as he felt a flicker of despair, a voice broke through the noise, his own voice, surprising him. We owe it to ourselves and to our families to try. What do we want our legacy to be? In 50 years, do we want our names associated with profits or with profound change? The room fell quiet again, but this time it was charged with contemplative energy. Jack held his breath, willing them to see. Then the tension cracked when someone laughed nervously and remarked, "If we don't try, at least we'll always have nice offices." A ripple of laughter followed and broke the ice further. That's the team. Shared ideas, each more exciting than the last. Jack felt a thrill. Maybe this was the beginning. Maybe they would rise to the occasion together. But just as he felt optimism bloom, a nagging doubt crawled back in. Could he be sure that those who smiled would stand resilient when the first wave of resistance hit? Would his co-workers' enthusiasm hold, or would they falter when faced with the uncomfortable truths of change? The clock ticked on, and with it, the ticking countdown before the tides of reality crashed down. Jack knew he had to keep pushing. Would he manage to carry them through, or would his dreams of a new culture sink beneath the weight of doubt and tradition? The coming weeks would reveal the answers. Jack sat back in his chair, surveying the faces in front of him. They were engaged but skeptical, like athletes readying themselves for a race but uncertain of the course. He could feel a mixture of warmth and fear swirling within himself, like a storm preparing to break. "All right, let us take a breath," Maria said, breaking the tension. "If we're moving forward, we need to outline each step. What's next?" Jack nodded, grateful for her guidance. "We'll host a brainstorming session next week. Everyone can come up with ideas for family events, workshops, whatever speaks to them. Let us open the floor." "I like that idea," James said, leaning forward. "It'll get people involved. They need to feel ownership of this, not just as another corporate initiative." The conversation began to flow again, ideas bouncing off the walls. There was talk of family outings, mental health days, and even guest speakers who could inspire a sense of community. Jack found himself jotting down notes, his pen flying as he captured every idea thrown into the mix. Each one felt like a stepping stone toward something greater. But amid the enthusiasm, doubt still clawed at him. What if this energy dissipated when faced with change? What if the very same people rallying around him were the ones who turned cold at the first hint of discomfort? He couldn't shake the feeling that he had to prepare for the inevitable pushback that lay ahead. That evening, he found himself at home, standing in the kitchen, staring blankly at the refrigerator while his children laughed and played in the living room. Their joy was a stark contrast to the worry weighing on his heart. "Dad," his daughter called, breaking his reverie. "Come play hide and seek." He turned to her, and for a moment, everything else melted away. How could he advocate for a stronger family culture if he wasn't fully present with his own? Jack joined in the laughter, losing himself in the delight of their game. The sounds of joy filled the house, making him realize that family was indeed the heart of everything he was fighting for. After a few rounds, he sat with his kids on the floor, out of breath but grinning. "You both are amazing seekers. How do you always find me?" His son smiled wide. "We can see your shadow. You always think you're being sneaky." Jack laughed, the lightness bringing clarity. "Maybe I should remember that when I'm at work. Change isn't just about the big picture. It's also about the little things, the moments that fill our lives with joy." Over the next few days, with family fervor fueling his resolve, Jack engaged with his team outside the conference room. Coffee breaks turned into discussions sprinkled with laughter. Colleagues began sharing personal stories about their families, weaving bonds that began to transcend work. But just when he felt they were heading toward something transformative, Rick's skepticism resurfaced. "Jack, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but we need more than just fun ideas. These workshops and events need to translate into productivity. Otherwise, what's the point?" Jack felt his chest tighten. Rick was right. The clock was ticking, and they needed to provide tangible results. "I understand, Rick. But we also have to create an environment that fosters creativity and comfort. People won't perform well if they feel estranged from their home life." Suddenly, Maria spoke up. "What if we set a tangible goal for the pilot program? Let us aim for an increase in employee satisfaction scores or even attendance in family events as a metric. Those numbers could help settle concerns about productivity." Jack felt a spark ignite within him again. "That's it. We can measure their engagement. The feedback will tell us whether this is working. We can prove that a happy workforce is as valuable as profits." The group buzzed at this new approach, engaged in discussion. Yet, as Jack watched their enthusiasm build, he couldn't shake off the feeling that the real challenge was still ahead. The moment they would take this leap, the moment when pressure and disbelief might crack the surface of their brave dreams. The coming week promised to bring both excitement and peril, but it was a turning point Jack desperately needed. Could they rally together and endure the storms ahead? Or would hesitation tear them apart before they could make their vision a reality? Jack's resolve deepened, knowing he had to lead them through both the fears and the hopes. His heart thudded with anticipation. The stage was set, but would they find the courage to step into the spotlight together? The week arrived, and Jack felt both exhilaration and dread clinging to him like a thick fog. The brainstorming session loomed ahead, and he spent every free moment preparing. He read through notes from past meetings, sat in his car rehearsing key points, and even sketched out scenarios in which participants would share their ideas with open hearts. The conference room filled up slowly that day, the buzz of chatter blending with the faint scent of coffee. Jack noticed how many faces were painted with a mix of hope and reluctance. Would they really dive into this journey together? Would they challenge the status quo and embrace the unknown? "Thank you all for coming," Jack began, standing at the front as the team settled down. "This is our chance to reshape our work culture, our family culture here at the office." He felt the nervous tremor in his voice but pushed through, focusing on his mission. Maria offered an encouraging smile from the corner, and Jack launched into their plan. He touched on the statistics, the need for measurable results. As he spoke, ideas began to flow. People suggested activities, craft fairs, potluck lunches, even a charity run they could plan as a team, all centered around building a stronger sense of community. Rick raised his hand, his brows knitted together. "This is great, Jack, but we need to consider logistics. How can we ensure participation? Last time we held an event, attendance was disappointing." Jack nodded, recalling that event all too well. "What if we focused on communication? Regular reminders and inviting feedback could make a big difference." As he spoke, he caught glimpses of hesitant faces beginning to brighten. James leaned forward, echoing Jack's sentiment. "Involvement starts with ownership. Let us assign roles, let us create a committee from this meeting so everyone has a voice in how we grow." The room erupted into murmurs of agreement. Hope flickered in even the most skeptical faces. Ideas melded together, Someone suggested a family talent show. Another proposed monthly family days where they would showcase kids' creative work. It was electric, contagious, a powerful wave of enthusiasm. But as Jack's heart soared, Rick's critical undertone rang loud. That's all good, but we still need a framework. We can't run around chasing ideas without a solid plan. His eyes pierced into Jack, and the air thickened with tension. Jack took a breath, feeling the weight of Rick's words. I hear you, Rick. What if we create a timeline? Outline goals for both the short term and long term? We can set up monthly check-ins to track our progress and recalibrate as needed. A soft murmur of approval spread through the group, and slowly, Rick's expression softened. All right, let's explore that. I'm in. In that moment, Jack realized this wasn't just about initiatives or metrics. It was about connecting with each other, about learning to trust and dive deeper into their shared purpose. The atmosphere shifted, riffing like a symphony of possibilities, each member playing a crucial role in the harmony of change. As the session wrapped up, Jack felt a rush of gratitude. He hadn't just led a meeting. He had ignited a spark. But with each ember, the challenge of maintaining this momentum loomed large. Later that evening, as he returned home, Jack was filled with an unease. What if the initial excitement faded? What if the criticism and fear reigned over this newfound camaraderie? He sat on the couch with his family, trying to shake off the lingering worries, but his daughter's laughter echoed in the background. Dad, tell us a story, she chimed, her eyes bright and innocent. He glanced at his kids, warmth spreading through him. All right, how about a tale of a brave knight fighting for his castle? In the midst of their giggles and playful banter, Jack remembered the heart of his mission. It was never just about the plans on paper. It was about cultivating those meaningful moments inside and outside work that could eventually lead to transformation. But he still couldn't shake the looming question. As they strove for change, would the feel-good energy survive the bumps along the road? The following day held a new challenge. Would they be able to turn their ambitions into action? Or would they merely be a fleeting moment of hope? The sun peeked through Jack's office window the next day, illuminating the empty chairs around the conference table. He arrived early, wanting to take a moment to gather his thoughts. The nervous energy from the meeting still pulsed through him like electricity. As the rest of the team trickled in, Jack felt a swell of hope. He had been preparing for this moment, the first step toward bringing their ideas to life. Yet, doubt nibbled at the edges of his confidence. Would they rise to the occasion, or would the same old patterns suffocate their joy? Let us kick things off, Jack announced as everyone settled. There was a palpable buzz in the air, a mix of anticipation and nervousness. He had created a simple agenda. Review the ideas from yesterday, assign roles, and establish timelines. Seemed easy on paper. First up, can we reflect on how we can turn our ideas into reality? Hands shot up. Maria suggested they start with the family talent show. We could host it in the backyard. We'll encourage everyone to bring their families. It'll be fun. Fun, Jack echoed, nodding along. That's vital. But let us also think about ways to strengthen bonds among coworkers. Just then, Rick chimed in, his tone more enthusiastic than before. Maybe we can incorporate team-building games during the show. Could be a great icebreaker. Jack felt relief wash over him. Exactly. The more we can weave collaboration into these activities, the better. They wasted no time in diving deeper, brainstorming logistics, drafting schedules, and assigning roles. Ideas flew around the room, each one landing with an audible thud of possibility. Laughter filled the air as they joked about talents, ranging from magic tricks to off-key karaoke. But then came the challenge. James leaned back in his chair, brow furrowed. What about those who are hesitant to take part? You know, some folks prefer to stay behind the scenes. Jack paused, considering James's words. We should create pathways for everyone. Maybe someone could be on a planning committee without performing, or help organize behind the scenes. Good point, Maria agreed. We should tailor our roles to fit everyone's comfort levels. It's about inclusivity, right? It's about creating a culture where everyone feels valued. Jack added, his heart racing with excitement. He felt an infectious energy growing, a sense of unity. Suddenly, Maria's eyes sparkled. What if we let people vote on activities after we present our ideas? That way, we ensure we're focusing on what sparks joy for all. Jack felt a swell of pride at their growing connection. Ideas were forming a community woven together by shared purpose and a desire for growth. But in the back of his mind, a worry lingered. Would their excitement hold steady when faced with hurdles? As they began wrapping up the meeting, Jack reminded the team about their monthly check-ins. We can adapt as we go along. Ready to bring our visions to life? A chorus of yes resonated through the room, infusing him with hope. Jack left the office that day feeling lighter, buoyed by his team's enthusiasm. Yet, as night fell, doubt crept back in. What if excitement fizzled in the mundane grind of work? Would they cherish the ambition? He looked over at his daughter, immersed in her art, with splashes of color covering her fingers. "Dad, look," she exclaimed, showing him her masterpiece. It was messy, chaotic, but sincere. "Wow," he said, genuinely impressed. "You've captured something truly beautiful right there." In that moment, Jack realized what mattered most. Just like his daughter's artwork, their journey was about perseverance, about getting our hands dirty and finding joy in the process. But as he settled into bed that night, another question loomed. As they chased dreams, would the beauty of their transformation withstand the test of time? The next morning brought with it an unusual stillness in Jack's household. His daughter had decided to sleep in, leaving a blanket of silence across the house. It gave Jack time to think, to hope, and to question. He sat at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee warming his hands, staring out the window. The world outside buzzed with life, but he felt a creeping uncertainty about the meeting ahead. As he arrived at the office, the energy was different. There was a sense of urgency, a quiet determination as his team settled in. "Ready for round two?" Maria asked, her eyes sparkling with spirit. Jack couldn't help but smile. Her enthusiasm was contagious. "Absolutely. Let us build on yesterday," Jack replied, pushing away his lingering worries. They gathered around the conference table, and he mentally took stock of each person's energy. They were ready. They were willing. Jack led a brainstorming session dissecting their ideas. Each team member threw in suggestions, each contributing to the growing mosaic of plans. As smiles spread and laughter erupted, Jack felt the heavy weight of doubt begin to lift. The idea of the talent show transformed from a mere suggestion into something alive with possibilities. They spoke about themes, about games and activities with burgeoning fervor. But then came the topic Jack had dreaded. What if someone feels left out? James brought it up again, his tone more serious this time. What if we put together everything and then someone can't join in? Jack felt his chest tighten. The room fell silent, the laughter froze, and he could feel the tension seep in. "That's real, James," he admitted, feeling the burden slip back onto his shoulders. "We need to address this." They spent what felt like an eternity discussing inclusivity. Ideas flowed. They suggested crafting options that would allow people to participate in their comfort zones, from behind the curtain or right on the stage. It was a group effort, each contribution layered upon the last, each concern addressed with care. Finally, they settled on creating a host committee to ensure everyone felt included, everyone had a voice. Energized again, the team dove back into planning, transformed by their commitment to each other. They envisioned a community that would thrive and grow together, a family forged of diverse talents and ideas. Jack felt proud, buzzing with confidence. But even that sense of success was undercut by an invisible shadow of doubt. As the day ended, Jack carefully considered what had changed since the previous day. He took a moment to reflect in his car, biting down on his lip. He kept circling back to James's point. What if they encountered challenges that would threaten their fragile unity? Jack arrived home to a scene bursting with color. His daughter caught sight of him and ran over, paintbrush in hand. "Dad, look at my new picture," she exclaimed, her excitement palpable. The canvas showcased intricate swirls of colors, each stroke a mix of emotion and exuberance. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," he said, kneeling beside her. You're really growing as an artist. But I didn't really paint this alone. Dad, she replied, a slight frown crossing her face. Remember when we talked about how teamwork makes things better? I had help. We painted it together. Her words hit him harder than he'd expected. Teamwork mattered. Togetherness mattered. It was about more than just putting pieces in place. It was about nurturing those connections and celebrating each contribution. But could his team do it? Could they band together to create something beyond their own expectations? Doubt lingered in his mind as he hugged her close, a reminder that transformation often springs from vulnerability. As he tucked her into bed that night, Jack couldn't shake the unease that danced at the edges of his thoughts. What if their unity faced its first test soon? What would happen when the inevitable bumps came? The more Jack pondered, the more questions arose. And deep down, he felt that a storm was brewing just on the horizon. The next morning, Jack awoke with a sense of determination blossoming inside him. It was time to confront those doubts head-on. He had his daughter's words echoing in his mind. Teamwork matters. He poured himself a cup of coffee and took a moment to enjoy the quiet before the day's chaos unfolded. The office buzzed as he walked in, but today felt different. There was an undercurrent of nervous excitement. People were whispering, pacing, and exchanging expectant glances. Jack furrowed his brow as he approached Maria, who was hunched over her desk. "What's going on?" he asked, concern threading his voice. "There's been chatter this morning," she replied, glancing at the doorway nervously. "People are anxious some might not be on board with the talent show after all." Jack's heart sank. Just when he thought they were all on the same page, another hurdle appeared. The unity he'd desperately hoped for felt precarious. "Let us gather everyone," he declared, trying to push aside the creeping worry as the team filed into the conference room. Jack felt the tension thickening in the air. He took a breath, grounding himself. "I know some of you are unsure. I want to hear your concerns," he said, meeting their eyes one by one. After a long pause, James spoke first. "I think it's a great idea and all, but what if we push too hard? What if someone feels forced to participate?" A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Jack felt his gut twist. He had been so focused on driving excitement that he hadn't considered the very reality he had worried about all along. "That's valid, and I appreciate you bringing it up. Let us discuss how we can ensure everyone feels comfortable," he suggested, watching as hesitation transformed into engagement. As the discussion unfolded, voices rose and fell. Ideas sparked from every corner. Jack felt the energy shift, the initial anxiety replaced with a collective creativity. They brainstormed alternatives for those who might want to contribute in less intense ways, minimizing the spotlight, painting backdrops, or managing logistics. After a productive session, Jack beamed at his team. "See? We're stronger together. Let us take the energy we've cultivated and build this out." They nodded, smiles breaking across their faces. All of a sudden, something unbreakable emerged within the group, an understanding that they were in this together. But just as Jack began to relax, the chaotic sound of the office door banging open startled him, cutting through the laughter. A figure stood silhouetted in the doorway. It was Sheila, the new cleaning lady. She usually kept to the background, but this time her expression was urgent. "Jack," she called, stepping inside. "I hope I'm not interrupting, but I've overheard some things. I think I can help with the talent show." The room fell silent, all eyes on her. Jack blinked in surprise. "You want to help? I've seen how your team operates, and I know that everyone wants to feel included. I've spent years helping kids and adults find their voices in creative spaces. Just give me a shot." Jack could feel a spark igniting. Was it possible she held the key to addressing their unspoken concerns? He shared a glance with Maria, her eyes shining with encouragement. "'Kay, Sheila, let us talk details. I want to hear your ideas." As they began to brainstorm together, Jack felt the fissures of doubt slowly mend. Beyond his expectations, there was a world of potential awaiting to be unlocked, and maybe unexpected sources of wisdom could lead the way. But as the conversation unfolded, an unsettling thought crept back into Jack's mind. Could Sheila's involvement stir up more than they had bargained for? What hidden challenges might this new alliance reveal? The intensity in the air held hints of both promise and peril, as Jack wondered what would come next. The day of the talent show finally arrived, and the atmosphere in the office buzzed with electric anticipation. Jack stood near the entrance, his eyes scanning the crowd of employees mingling with their families. Laughter echoed, kids dashed about, and adults engaged in conversations filled with warmth. He hadn't felt this light in a long time as Maria came up beside him. She flashed him an encouraging smile. "Look at them. This is what it's all about, Jack." Jack nodded, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. They had poured their hearts and souls into this event, and it showed. The talent show wasn't just a showcase of skills. It was a celebration of the bonds formed within the walls of their office, a testament to their shared vision. "Remember when some were hesitant to get involved?" Maria asked, leaning in. "We've come a long way." Jack chuckled, the memory bringing warmth. "Yeah, I was worried too, but Sheila really stepped up. I think she's been one of the hidden driving forces behind this." As the show began, employees stepped up onto the makeshift stage. From heartfelt songs to silly skits, Jack watched each performance with delight. The cheering filled the air, and he couldn't help but join in, clapping and shouting encouragement. Every moment brought a rush of laughter and joy, each performance echoing the idea that they were more than just co-workers. They were a family. Then it was Sheila's turn. She introduced herself nervously, her hands shaking slightly. "I'm just a cleaning lady, but I've seen how creativity can ignite life in our everyday world," she began, her voice hesitant yet resolute. "Today I want to showcase something a little different. Let us create something together." As she guided the audience through an impromptu group artwork, magic unfolded. Each attendee grabbed a paintbrush, adding their splash of color to a collective canvas. There was no hierarchy, just the shared experience of creation. Jack felt tears prick at his eyes, the joy so overwhelming that he laughed to disguise it. This was the heart of their mission. Coming together, embracing vulnerability, and allowing creativity to pave the way for connection. As the event came to an end, Jack gathered everyone for a final toast. "You've all turned today into something so much more than I had envisioned. The laughter, the unity, it's all here, and it's just the beginning." His voice steadied, each word infused with sincerity. "Let us carry this momentum back to our work life. Let us remember that we are not just employees, but part of a vibrant, supportive community." Cheers and applause erupted in response. He looked around at the faces. The warmth in their smiles brought clarity to his heart. Jack felt a deep transformation in himself and those around him. They were breaking free from the constraints of old corporate expectations. This was not just about business. It was about life that in the weeks to follow. Jack embraced ongoing dialogue about work-life integration. Employees felt valued, heard, and a surge of creativity flowed throughout the office. Every improvement and initiative they set into motion was grounded in the understanding that they would face challenges, but they wouldn't face them alone. Reflecting later that evening, Jack sat with his children, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of a night lamp. They played a board game together, the cacophony of joyous chaos echoing through the room. "You know, Dad," his daughter said, glancing up, "it's more fun when we all work together." Jack captured that moment, her innocent wisdom resonating in his heart. "Exactly, sweetheart." It was both exhilarating and terrifying to realize he had embarked on a journey of transformation not just for himself, but for all of them. That as he tucked them into bed later, he felt at ease, finally free from the chains of doubt. He understood that the truest success was not about profits and losses. It was about connection, compassion, and celebration of life itself. With a full heart, Jack knew there would be challenges ahead, but he felt equipped to face them, surrounded by a community fueled by love and mutual respect. They would transform the corporate landscape together. This was just the beginning now. If you've enjoyed this incredible journey, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss a single moment of our next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and show your support. Every click counts. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. We want to hear from you. And finally, Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of keeping this community alive and thriving.